The second gen Lexus RX is an excellent vehicle, but the dashboards, not so much. I was able to restore my dashboard to go from this to this for under $75. If your dashboard is starting to look bad, you do have some options. The most expensive option is a full replacement, which can cost well over $1,500, or possibly under $1,000 if you do it yourself. Other people use dashboard covers. In fact, the previous owner of this one had a carpet cover, but in my opinion, it looked ugly. The most popular cover for this Lexus model comes from a company called Dash Skin, which cost over $200. It definitely improves the look, but only to a certain degree. This cutout they have is necessary for the passenger airbag deployment, which doesn't provide the most aesthetically pleasing finish. And unfortunately for my case, this cover wouldn't hide how hideous the dash had gotten. So with my low budget, DIY was my only option. Here's what I did. First, using alcohol, I cleaned the entire dash for any dirt and oils. Normally you should never use alcohol to clean your interior, but it's needed in this case to prep for the next steps. Be sure not to get the alcohol on anything else. Next, I started to fill small cracks with a leather shoe filler. Later, I wished I had not used it because it shrank significantly, causing me to refill the cracks and gaps several times over. You might have better luck using a paintable caulk like this that advertises little to no shrinking. And by the way, I don't consider myself an expert at all on dash restoration, so learn from my mistakes here. And if you have a suggestion on a better product or practice to use, please share it with us in the comments to help anyone planning to attempt this. Now, whatever kind of filler you choose to use, the process will look close to this. It also takes time to tape off areas you don't want to get paint on, and you can save money by using grocery or trash bags to cover your seats and windows. I used cereal boxes between the windshield and the dash. It's very helpful if you're able to remove some of the vents and trim pieces, the center console, since tape doesn't like to stick well to these parts. A helpful way to remove some of these vents on the very end is first unscrewing the screw at the bottom of it, and then on the insides of these vents you want to reach a flathead screwdriver on the inside, and there are some tabs inside there that you'll want to lock out of place so that you'd be able to pull the entire vent straight out once those tabs are out of the way. For this odometer trim piece here, there's some tabs on the side that can be pushed in to help you pry it out of place, and it's much easier instead of trying to tape over some of these types of items. For large areas where the dash material is completely gone, you can buy a roll of leather or vinyl wrap with adhesive under it and cut it to size. In my case, I peeled off more dash material to make the fit easier. It doesn't matter what color wrap you have here since it will get painted over anyway. Hopefully, your dash will only have cracks, which will make this process much easier if you don't need wrap. If you need a large leather patch kit like this, I'll leave a link for one in the description. If you happen to be placing wrap on the passenger dash, be sure to cut a slice probably an inch or two lower than where I cut, as to not prevent the airbag from working as it should. Now, if your mother-in-law is the only one who rides in the seat, then you can just skip this step. I was pretty happy to discover that the trim piece around the instrument cluster panel was not held in by screws. It just pops straight out with using a firm grip and just pulling straight back. You may have to adjust the steering wheel in order to get out completely. But this is nice to not have to tape around this. The tape was not sticking very well to this at all, so I was glad I was able to get this out. Then I just used pieces of paper to cover up the speedometer area so that no paint would get on any of that. So as you can see, I use various things around my house to cover up areas that I didn't want to get paint on. Some Amazon packaging, trash bags over the windows and doors, but it helped me save a lot of money as far as the prep work that was needed to get me ready to start painting. Once I thought that the dash was smooth enough along the filler, I got a can of texture spray made by SEM for about 30 bucks. This step is very important because this texture spray brings uniformity across the dash, blending the texture of your sanded filler to the rest of the dash. What it can't hide is large ripples or valleys caused by uneven sanding. I had initially thought the texture spray would be thick enough to hide my sloppy job, but this proved I needed to take more time and ensure the sanding made the transitions as smooth as possible. Since I struggled with the leather shoe filler shrinking, I decided to start using Bondo filler. This was much easier to work with since it didn't shrink and was very easy to sand down. The negative with Bondo is that it tends to crack after drying, so I had to add Bondo on top of Bondo when that happened. I then used a flexible sponge fine grit sander to smooth down all the gap filler. The area on the passenger side was tricky to make it look decent because of the ripples from the added leather patch and the shrinkage of the white gap filler as well. This caused me to keep adding more filler to correct it. I can't stress enough the importance of ensuring your gap filler is smooth after sanding. This process gave me new respect for anyone in bodywork. It can be tedious work that requires patience for best results. Be sure to follow the directions on your filler product and let dry completely before sanding, whether it be 20 minutes or more. Eventually, I ran out of patience and decided to move on, especially since I didn't want to buy another can of texture spray, and I had just about used it up too because of going back over mistakes. Once that dries, you're ready for the top coat of paint. For the Lexus RX like this one, there's 3 color options of black, tan, or gray. There's several brands of dashboard paint you can choose that provide a decently close match for your interior. Color Bond, for example, makes good paint, but I chose to go on the cheaper side and found this at my local auto parts store for about 13 bucks. Initially, I purchased a higher gloss paint, but after applying it, I decided that I didn't want too much light reflection, so I ended up doing it again with a flat black paint, and then I was satisfied with the results. Like I said before, I didn't do a perfect job. I would probably give my final result a 7 out of 10, but it still looks so much better than before. The potential to have a 10 out of 10 finish is certainly within your grasp with this method if you're patient enough. Hope this video helps motivate you to restore your dash as well. I don't think you'll regret it.